right. Thanks, Eddy. So that's basically Eddy's point is, apart from, the law that was being passed, the EB, aside from it, Baru 1970, after that riot, it's basically even the MCA and MIC was complicit to that.
Yes.
So in certain sense, and probably, what was then, probably we're not very educated, and probably people like Willie also was not born, and there's not much people like Willie, so they didn't put his viewpoint on board. So what do you think, Willie, of all the writing? Of course, apart from become more greedy, has become more prosperous. So, I think that's where the conflict becomes. Kalau semua orang miskin, it's okay. Willie, over to you.
Right. So one thing first is to address the politics part of it, right? Because I think both Arun and Eddy has kind of brought it up a little bit. So I do quite agree with what Arun said, especially the country is becoming a lot about race and religion a lot of the time. And I think this is partly because, to put it very, very simply, I think it's because of the strength of the government. We used to have a very strong, very stable government, whether you were supportive or against it, but at least they felt secure, So I think the amount of things they do that polarizes the people in terms of race and religion was maybe not quite that significant. But the recent government has been allowing a lot of really polarizing talk that really tries to divide people based on race and religion and all these kind of things. So that's definitely a negative, and I think that has to do with how the politics of the times or the country is changing, right? So I think that part of it, I'm not sure how much we can, because it's quite a big topic of its own. Now the about Aloysius writing, I was thinking about this crisis thing that he's talking about. So I suppose many people expect that the perspective from the atheist or the humanist side would be, hey, everything is great because as long as the economics are going up and stuff like that. So I would want to point out that, of course, statistics is important, right? There is a way, there is an aspect of it where you can actually look at the numbers to see whether the country's GDP is growing and all these kind of things. Of course, that aspect of it is important because if you study the middle class of a country and you see the percentage of the population that is in it, you have definite numbers to show whether the economy of the country is growing or not, whether people's lives are improving or not. It's just that these things are usually very difficult to relatively feel because, like, for example, I myself probably grew up in a reasonably okay living conditions. Right, my family is not rich, but they're not poor either. They could do reasonably well by me. They could send me to university, and once I get a degree, I'm able to support myself reasonably well, and so on. So I don't have a perspective of what a worse life is like, but my parents had that, right? And my grandparents had a probably worse life. They experienced the war and all these kind of things. So when we see the world through our own lens, we have a tendency to apply our own relativistic point of view, how comfortable this life is, how good this life is, and so on. But if you want an objective view of how well people are doing, individuals are doing, are they suffering, are they living a good life or not, economics numbers, you can't escape from that. But having said that, that's obviously not all of it, right? There's a huge part of it having to do with whether or not people are happy or not. That is not very quantifiable. Like you can see it, you can say that they live a life of plenty, but whether or not they are happy within that plenty, rates of suicides, rates of depression and all that, those are also statistics, and you can actually see that sometimes those numbers don't necessarily just disappear just because everybody has more rice on the table or whatever it is. So obviously there's a nuance because human beings are complicated things. So I see from Aloysius' writing seems to be implying that actually faith is really important to bring people back to being good people, in a sense, like to avoid a lot of these moral failings and all that. I mean, if that works, then definitely go for it, right? Because I think a lot of people identify with their faith in order for them to be good, right? But I also do think that not everybody is good just because they are able to or just because they have faith. The same thing for me. I'm not criticizing religion specifically. It's just like saying that I think I have a reasonably good ability to reason. That's why I'm a humanist or an atheist or whatnot. But not everybody who is a humanist and atheist actually do want to like do good or want to dedicate their lives to making a difference or whatever it is. So it is the same. I guess there's something like people like Arun, Eddy, Aloysius, Boon, those of us who want to sit down and talk about all this kind of thing, to spend a Saturday night sitting together discussing these things, making trying to do a little bit. There is something that leads us there. If it's faith, if it's reason, whatever it is, right? Let's have more of it, right? That's the way I think about it. Yeah.
Thanks,
I
Willie.
think Arun wanted to say something.
Later on.
Arun
I mean,
was wanting
from
to
what? Okay. You want to say something, Arun?
Arun was
No,
carrying his hand in.
Yeah, I was noting to whatever that is said is right. There's no one reason. Okay, and there's some people the faith pushes them to do service, and some people the love that pushes them to do service, whatever that is. But we are really lack of people that's on the ground looking at the problem in a non-race and religious way. That is very important. That's what Malaysia should look forward as the ultimate point. Raceless Malaysia.
Yeah, thanks, Arun. The one that I want to add on is basically it's like to me, whatever the religion. I mean, we have started to know each other during our first World Interfaith Harmony Week. It seems that all religions are more like humanists, and humanists are more like the opposite. The irony. Because to me, at the end of the day, the religions must bring the humanity, they must bring good to humanity. That's to me all about religion. If the religion doesn't bring good to the whole society, that is something not right about the religion.
I mean,
and the problem with the religious people, whoever they are, the denominations, to me, frankly speaking, from their actions, they're more like Willie than they are more like the religious people. This paradox. Because they, technically speaking, they don't really believe. They just follow people. Their dads follow their grandfather and people around them, but they don't really know their own religious teaching and stuff like that. To me, even my own kind, I see that. They don't use their brain, and they don't walk their talk. So this is one of the things. Okay, but it's just that Arun has put a political curry into that, so it become spicier than what is supposed to be written by Aloysius. But never mind, I'll pass it to Aloysius, whether you want to add any more the Chinese spices into that.
Maybe you're interested in actually how come I to this stage of writing like the. In 1985, when I was selling life insurance, I became top agent in my very first year. And 1987, I became a top manager in life insurance also. And my managers were actually praising me, especially when you check my records that I close 50%. That means out of 2% I see I close one. But I said I was not happy. Then the boss asked me why. I said, I want to find out how come those people earning 2,000 and less was easier for me to sell than those who earn 2,000 and more. I didn't realize what I was getting into. And at that time, I was as worldly as anybody, but somewhere along my life, I discovered myself through my faith, So today's topic, I don't want to talk so much about faith itself, but each one of us have to be faithful to the beliefs we have already. I mean, the beliefs that we already have. I mean, each of us. For me, I've come to this stage where the rest of my life, I believe I'm in this journey to work with fellow brothers and sisters to restore the divinity in humanity through community. And this, I find, this is where I'm so blessed to be a Malaysian, especially now, because when we talk about faith, I'm talking about the hope for the future. And the hope for the future will not be decided or be made by the existing politicians. That is something we must recognize, because we have reached a stage today, you know, the fact that we are sitting down and talking about these issues, and whereas the politicians are all decided which coalition I'm going to be with, who's going to be the next prime minister. So there is no focus on the needs of the people. And this is where we as citizens, we need to create this Malaysia Baru. And I believe we can, because my positive outlook is because although we look that we have a crisis, and this is not the first, but when you look into the television news, every time you turn the news in Thailand, Hong Kong, Myanmar, India, practically everywhere in the world, there's protests going on. But these countries, we may not have appreciated that we can throw out a 61-year-old government, and yet we go to the mama stall, it's still aman and damai. A backdoor government comes in, and yet it's still aman dan damai. That means, although the politicians themselves have lost their plot, they have forgotten the whole idea of why the constitution was there, why the NAP was there, why the Vision 2023 and all this came up. That will all become like just words to them. So I think we should not fall into that, and we should continue to build this new Malaysia by coming up with new ideas, especially not just we are talking about now. We are talking about not about race. You know, it's about engaging with one another, like we are doing this. So I'd like to share, if I can, just a few PowerPoint, you know, to help us get in the right direction as we begin this journey to create this new Malaysia, not depending on the politicians at all. Yeah, so it's a concept I want to share. I believe that we can make a difference, because when you look, there are only 222 MPs, but we have a population of more than 32 million. So why we should let 200 over people decide our future? So how we engage with one another becomes very important. Yeah. So can I share the screen with you? Okay.
Yeah, please. You're okay.
So it's not so much talking about the crisis, because everybody know the crisis, but how we build again the race relationship that we all talk as Malaysians. And for this, I think we need to understand, how do I share my faith, my beliefs, my values without imposing on one another. As you can see, when you talk about vision, when you look at vision, mission and goals, they are abstract, they are building a harmonious, caring and prosperous society. These are abstracts in a sense. But the real fact is we need to do it as a people.
Have you shared the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
We cannot see.
Yeah. Oh, you can't see it?
Yeah.
Oh wait, how come I have not pressed. Okay, I must press it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to
Okay, you can see that. Okay.
restart. Okay.
Okay. No problem.
So I'm not going to talk about the crisis, because everybody knows what's happening, and each one is affected differently, depend where you're coming from. But I'm looking at moving forward as citizens of this country, and I so believe that we don't have to depend on the politicians how the country should be run in the future, because we are the ones that voted them in. We are the ones that even pay for their salaries. So it's high time we take ownership and do what we can to rebuild society in many ways that can be creative. So I would like to share one aspect of it as we begin to engage with one another. I remember in times of the before 57, Tunku, Tan Siew Sin, Tan Teng Lock, and Wee Sabatan, they came together purely out of goodwill. And that's what's happening today. I think Boon Talk has created an environment that we come together out of goodwill. But sometimes goodwill itself may not be enough. We also need tools, to as we begin to engage with one another. And I would like to share, the tool, how we can build better relationship with one another by understanding certain basics. See, because when you look at vision and mission goals are usually abstract. It's a state, building a harmonious, caring, and prosperous society. It's a state of how you feel, and we need teamwork. But to actually achieve this state, we need to use our gifts, the gifts of knowledge, skills. We need to use science and technology. And one area that we must not forget, at the end of the day, it is not our individual skills, talents, or technology that is the main thing. There are tools. The tools is all about relationships, because our happiness will depend on our relationships. And I'm talking this from home, society, anywhere that we go. I think sometimes we forget that we believe that I may be very talented, I may be very knowledgeable, I may be up to date in technology, and I measure myself by these material things. But actually, happiness, goodwill are all abstract things. So I used to do this quarterly, or maybe one year, what do you call this? I will call this the check, in the sense to discover a very important aspect of ourselves that we cannot, it's not material, because knowledge, even in the brain, scientists can track, in that your various neurons, your capacities in your brain. Skills can be seen. Science and technology we can see, but how we use all these skills depends on A. And you know what is A? Attitude. And I ask you, where is attitude? Can you place attitude anywhere? You can't, because it is spiritual, it's a value, it's a belief system in each one of us. And it is there in everyone, whether they recognize. So it is something that we need to be aware, to really be an integrated person. We cannot just look at what can be measured in terms of material, regarding your knowledge, skills, technologies, and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's about the attitude of my beliefs. My belief system help me to build a harmonious, caring, and prosperous society. And that must definitely include relationships. So in this aspect, I'm very happy, because generally in Malaysia, when I meet Grab drivers, especially, and especially from the educated Malay class, I said, let's be hopeful, because as a person who choose to make Malaysia my homeland, because I had a choice, because up to the age of 22, I could make a decision to go back to Singapore or just maintain my Malaysian citizenship. And I choose Malaysia for a very good reason. The people are beautiful, but sad to say, the politicians are rotten to the core. They have twisted all we had, like what Arun said in the constitution. We had certain things there in place. Even the NEP was designed by people, who took into consideration everything. They were not done by politicians. And I even met a Professor Khoo Kim, who was part of the Rukun Negara development team, But I see that the real issue we have in this country is not that we need new policies, that we need new manifestos. It's just that we have to be faithful and implement what we say we want to do. That's why I was quite encouraged last year. In June, I set up my company. At the back of my company, the card is a picture of Malaysian children, and then the Rukun Negara. Because I told myself, what is going to bring us together is basically we need something in common, So I feel that it's from time to time, we need to check ourselves. We need to also upgrade our skills that we need to be in the world. But more important, the A part, do we use our belief system, whatever we feel that can help us become better persons in society? Are we actually also upgrading in that area? But in my particular experience, I believe that because of the worldly forces, because of the globalization and all that, where the focus is on material wealth, that it has overwhelmed our desire, to build the spiritual type, So when we talk about engaging one another, I used to tell, when we have meetings, brainstorming meeting in companies sometime, the Malaysian context, if you have a good idea, and then you did not tell it to your manager or boss, and then you're attending a brainstorming meeting, you dare not bring it up, because the moment you bring it up, your manager outside of the meeting will wallop you nicely. Why you think you melawan tauke? So we have developed this culture where sometimes we just don't say anything. But for us to grow as a people, I think we must accept this fact. If two persons agree on everything, one is not needed. That is basic. Then how do I practice that? Okay, when somebody is in front of me, when he says something that is different, I have this point to remember. Nobody in his sane mind will say or do anything he or she knows is wrong. Can you accept that? Unless the person is mad, he won't say, do anything he knows is wrong. But the moment it is different, most of the time we argue and we fight. Why? And then the other point is, nobody likes to be told he's wrong. This is a basic human character. Even I don't like to be told, and I will not say anything I know that is wrong. But sometimes I say things, it is different, and people tell me it's wrong. And I at times I do get upset in the earlier days, but then I learned something. This new formula, I would say, it's called the decision-making process. When S is stimulus, P is pause, R can be react. Wait, just a minute. Oh. My power on. Yeah. Yeah, almost. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
D is data. A is analyst. Okay. This is something I studied through my own experience. And then when I went to this NLP program, NLP is neuro-linguistic program. S is when somebody says to you or do to you or something that you see, most of the time we react, because this is supposed to be the matured person's process of making decision. When you say something, I must think. I must think what you say.
Aloysius, you're more like you're jumping the discussion. You're more like try to solve the thing. You're going to the solutions.
No, I'm not trying to solve anything. I'm just trying to share. I'm trying to share a process.
Yeah.
I feel that can help us as a nation as we grow, because all of us have our own concerns, and also all of us have our own pain, one way or another. And a lot of it is because I believe that we have forgotten this simple process of decision making. So what I'm trying to say is, if somebody says especially something that is different, we need to pause. This is missing. That's why you see in the papers, and every time there's issue, very fast people react. So when you don't pause, you react. React is most of the time is from emotion, and it's negative. So what do you do when you pause? That's also very important. See, when somebody says something that is different, you pause. So only when you pause, you need to have in your mind that whatever he says, he is not mad, so he has a reason why he said what he said. It is different. It is not wrong. Why is it different? Because his education is different, his experience is different, his exposure is different, his upbringing is different, his heritage, which includes faith and belief system. So because of that, we need to ask why, clarify. And sometimes it's just as easy as, hey, Willie or Boon, why do you say that? But you notice that most of the time when somebody says it's different, it's so, we are so used to just reacting. Hey, no, you are wrong. And that is because I believe this is of this long-term conditioning through media and also lifestyle. Everything today has to be instant. Instant noodle, instant coffee, instant success, everything is instant. And I like the main theme of all, why you shouldn't think, why you shouldn't pause, because one particular brand says, just do it.
Do you have?
So this is something I think all of us need to bring back. Yeah, we need to pause.
Yeah.
When there's something that is different. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Aloysius, we need to pause a bit, so at least we can bring the other guys to. Otherwise, will be one way until we get your feedback on your presentation. Is that okay?
No. I just let me complete it, because it's like halfway.
Yeah.
See, this is where you need to pause. Okay, because I'm just trying to share with you, there is a process. If you understand the process, then you see, when you look at A is a skill you have to learn. C is something, when you have the right data, when you analyze it properly, then you can create a response. When you create a response, that is more positive usually, because you have gone through the process. So my one sharing I want to do at the end of the day, I said, we are all different. We all come from different backgrounds. We have different aspirations, but we want to build a society that is loving and caring. So this part is very important.
All right. Aloysius, I think you are jumping. That's why I said you are now talking more about the solutions. So we have not really agreed probably on the root cause. We can move forward to what make us think the way we think.
This is the process that has happened in our lives through all these various influences. Today we have new measurements of success and progress. In the past, where character was respected, today is about personality, from prudence to arrogance, humility to arrogance, families, other-centered to self-centered, broad-mindedness to myopic, and finally, human lives to status symbol. You see, all the things that you see there, the TV, radio, they themselves are neutral. It's how we use them, especially the smartphone today. What you watch on the smartphone decides your value system. So basically, I believe that many others need to go back to the values that we have within ourselves. And if it's something that results in negative behavior, then we need to rethink and go back to our own values. And this is something I believe is not easy to practice. And that's where COVID, for me, became very meaningful, because all the answers we want in our life are actually within us. But do we react or do we respond